and then I gotta find it. Hold on. Show intro. Okay. Oh Lord, how long ago did you send it to me? Okay. Soon as 10 o'clock, just take us on in.
Yeah, I'm on now.
Oh, we're on?
We're on. We are live. We're in before
What's
the
up?
time.
We are
We're in early
live.
today. We are live. Even though I got
We
got
are
it, we are live.
live. All right, I found it too. We are live.
What is
What's up,
up?
everybody? Saturday morning. I am tired. I am still in my morning voice, but you will get it all today. Amen. Amen.
Can you feel it? Brand new day.
Hey, hey, hey. Oh, sorry.
That used to be my joy. When I watched the wind.
Man,
Can you feel
I need to
brand
feel
new
look, I need to play
day?
that in the mornings. You know what? I need to set my alarms to that.
Make a theme song. Have your theme song.
Yeah, think about it, because sometimes we get up and we're like, Lord, I'm tired, or ooh, Lord, or blah, blah, blah. But it's like, come on, it's a brand new day. Can you feel it? You
Yeah.
obviously feel it because you woke up to it.
Yeah, I mean, having a playlist is key. And you have your workout playlist, but you need to have a morning playlist, get you in your right mind. I used to, it's interesting because I used to listen to the Bible Experience while I was driving to
Yes.
work, to put me in a different headspace. And I haven't listened to it in a minute, and I gotta, every time I transfer computers,
Uh-huh.
or phones, the file's no longer on there because we have it from the CDs versus,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
because you downloaded from the CDs.
yeah, and and then it's not on Apple anymore, or I haven't seen it. It could be, but
So you got to find a new place to download. Yeah,
yeah, I
because,
gotta every time I switch computers, I gotta download it. That's all. But yeah.
man, good morning, everybody. It's football today? Or when does football
Um,
start?
I thought there was a game already or scrimmages. I thought it was Thursday or
Yeah, there's
something.
scrimmages and stuff. I need to check some out. Um, I like football. I gotta find a football
Are you ready for some
team up here to
football?
go and support,
Uh huh.
because one that's not like $30 to park and $80 for the ticket. One of the other teams,
Right.
so I can go on a regular basis. So not just every now and then. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So that
yeah.
I would go. I'm going to Kansas. My little cousin plays in Kansas, so I'm going to one of his football games in October.
Hey, good morning, Brandon. How you doing, man?
Hey, Brandon.
And there
Uh
it
oh,
is.
there it is.
That's that
That's the
late clock.
alarm.
Yeah, that's the alarm saying, "Hey."
That's the alarm. Hey, Brandon. I caught the end of the show last night. Um, you have a lot of great guests on your show, like great actors and stuff. So that is awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That is awesome. All right, we ready? Come on in. What time is it? Oh, we got a couple.
Well, we always just get started. We're not trying to be on too long. Um, but
You
it
say
is.
too long.
um, but let's go
I'm
ahead
ready
and
whenever you are.
you ready whenever I am.
I'm ready
You
whenever
sure?
you are. I'm playing with
Because
this key.
I could, I could play the theme music.
You can play the theme music.
You want to play the theme music
You
until
want to play
Jamal
the theme
creates
music?
another
Hey,
theme
that's
song?
hey.
Here we go. Let's drop it in there. Hey,
Hey. You can go ahead and you can start your part.
you want me to do it? TK.
I mean,
We'd like to
I'm gonna
welcome
read.
y'all to the Black Filmmakers Lounge. I'm your host, Michael Melvin. My co-host, Tamara TK Henderson. And we are hanging out once again on this beautiful Saturday morning. Welcome to the Black Filmmakers Lounge, where independent filmmakers, whether novelists or professionals, come together to gain insight. Did I say insight and perspective?
Insight.
Through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry best practices that will advance the Black independent film community. That is what we are about. So remember that, because the Black Filmmakers Lounge is creating our own space to succeed together. And that's what we're doing today. Succeeding together. And together we're going to talk about Today's topics are, of course, the What You Watching segment. So if you've been watching some stuff, go ahead and start posting what you've been checking out. And we're going to talk about mythology because I've noticed in the lately conversations, every once in a while, we got to bring up mythology so people can understand writing a little bit better and storytelling. And on top of that, we're going to not only talk about storytelling and mythology, but we're going to talk about story rights. Oh, because we had a deep discussion last night and all this week. I'll tell you, when I talk to TK, Jamal, or anybody else this week, stuff be popping up. And then, of course, when we're looking at all the pages. So we're going to get it going. We're going to have some fun. Welcome to the Black Filmmakers Lounge. Let's get it rolling.
Pew, 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 pew. What is up? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. If you're watching live or on the replay, what's up?
Right. What is it? How are you guys all doing today?
How's everyone doing today? Man, I'm good. I'm good. Busy week and ready to come into a busier one.
Oh, really?
With pre-production and just getting everything ready with pre-production and I'm cooking 3 times on this set.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because and then we're going to what you're watching, but because like I wanted to do some sub sandwiches and cold salads.
Mm-hmm.
To do what I want to do, it cost me probably $3.50 at Publix. If I do it myself, I'm probably going to end up about $100.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a burger bar because I've been wanting to do that on set, and that's really cheap. And then I'm going to cook my they're going to get to taste my famous enchiladas.
So I have a question. And I was wondering, I know when COVID happened and all that stuff was happening, one of the big things on sets were that you had to prep meals and they had to be individually wrapped. Is that still the case?
On the indie films,
I guess
on the indie films is not as mandatory.
Okay.
Like they require, but if it's an indie film, these people, they just like, you can wear your mask if you want to. Good morning, Jaden.
Good morning, Jaden.
You can wear your mask if you want to. Here's the food. You put some hand sanitizer up.
Good morning, Tony.
But a lot of independent films are not really. When you go on other set, like when I was on set at The Resident yesterday, of course, they were still serving us. They served us everything, even the drinks. They served us even drinks. And then when I went on the set for Praise This, which is NBC Universal with Will Packer, that was a movie and they served us, but we were able to still get our drinks. So everybody's a little different, but the indie people, they may COVID test and they may not. I called the girl to confirm last night for next week and she's like, oh yeah, I got COVID. I'm like, we would have never known. You know what I mean?
If you never asked, right? Oh.
And or never test.
And that's a big
And I know
thing.
A lot of people, so I have to, it's like, okay, Tamira, it's like, if you're the only one on set with your mask, don't put it on. My sister just got over COVID and a whole bunch of other people I know just got over COVID, believe it or not. So I'm like, yeah, I probably need to wear my mask.
Yeah, Jaden said pending if it's SAG or not. That's also the thing. Because SAG requires it. I think it's one of their requirements that there's COVID testing. Because again, you're affecting people's health and livelihood, so you can't just be out there.
You can, but you don't, and that's what we're doing next week. For the independent film I'm working on next week, we are not COVID testing.
Oh, okay.
We're not COVID testing. Nope. So it's up to me to wear my mask and be conscious because we're not COVID testing at all. So I have hand sanitizer, I'm getting gloves. I am going to make sure that we serve the lunch and that people just don't come and grab. The only thing they can come and grab is like drinks and snacks.
Okay.
But we'll have the hand sanitizer, we'll have the hand sanitizer out, but the drink and snacks, they can grab. So my job as crafty on, crafty and lunch or whatever for this set, that
Mm-hmm.
is, I can just do my part to make sure, everybody has a decent experience and not, you know, but whether you wear your mask, because now, we got monkeypox, all the plagues, and that's all we can do.
Yeah. So, man,
So I did watch.
Mm-hmm. What you watch?
I watched one thing this week. I
What was
think it was A League of Their Own, the series.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the first episode.
Okay, so that's on now.
Yep, it is on Netflix. I wasn't sure when it came out because I know my mom mentioned it, and then but I wasn't sure when it came out because when I seen Bad Sports, I
Mm-hmm.
realized Bad Sports had already been out, like, and I just hadn't seen it. So, hey girl, hey Gina, hey JD, good morning. So I hadn't seen it, so I did watch that this week, and it was what was really exciting about that for me was watching how, so it takes place in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place in Chicago, and the first episode they're going into Chicago to go to these tryouts, but um looking at them walking down the Chicago street, and they have to build that, the landmarks and the cars and all the people with the wardrobe and the busyness.
Mm-hmm.
It was it New York? Wait, Bakersfield. Where's Bakersfield? Is it in Chicago? It's Chicago, right?
I think it's Chicago. But
Chicago.
I mean,
So it was
more
really
than one Bakersfield, just like there's more than one Springfield.
yeah.
Look,
It was Bakersfield, the stadium. The stadium.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was Chicago, but it was just so intriguing to me because I know, especially when you work on side, the other side of the camera, it's like, dang, they had to recreate that whole world. Yeah. You got it. You picked that up. Yeah, you picked that up. Okay. They had to recreate that whole world.
This is a business, and you ain't too far gone to see that yet.
That's the wrong button,
right?
But
well, I was so intrigued because I was like, dang, they had a really good budget, because it takes money to recreate all that, and then the hotel rooms and all that kind of stuff they stayed in. So that was really train station. They did the train station, which is not too bad, but the whole street. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I watched. And because I'm finishing up the rewrite first draft and pre-production for the new project next week. So that's it. That's all I got.
Well, thank you for sharing. I watched She-Hulk on Thursday. I have been really watching different things on YouTube. Studying stuff, looking at things. So a lot of interviews and conversations. And for the most part, I haven't watched anything really significant, like other than, I've been watching Supernatural and so many other things. But for the most part, I haven't. The only new thing I did watch this week was She-Hulk. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun and funny. What I'm starting to realize too, watching this stuff, because I got to stay away from Facebook because somebody always has something negative to add. Oh, don't watch this show because of what somebody believes or whatever. Look, man, people believe what they've been believing before you existed. It doesn't matter, like. If you're worrying about supporting certain materials because of what it supports, I'm just going to be honest. Y'all been buying drinks, food, shopping, and the KKK getting paid for it, or some white supremacists getting paid for it. Somebody who you don't agree with has been getting paid for it. You don't know who owns what store or what they.
I bet the KKK own MD 2020. I bet you.
You know what I mean? Like. You don't know who owns what. You're not doing your total research. You don't know who's on the board of what company. And there's people on the board of the same company. They're more concerned about money. They don't even care what each other do on their beliefs because they're trying to get paid. Somebody who works at Disney and thinks one way, and the other person who works at Disney thinks the other way. But they're one thing they match on is I'm trying to get made. I'm trying to get money. I'm trying to get paid, and it's do what we do. Walt Disney was known as a racist. So again, and we went to Disneyland and Disney World, and we support Disney movies. So when people are complaining about stuff, it's like, okay, how microscopic are you going to go back and look at who's creating what and done what? Do you fault the creator or do you respect the creation when it comes to art? Because I'm sure there's books you've read that you found out the author felt a certain way about a certain topic you feel a different way about. Does that stop you from enjoying the art?
That's good.
We always, it seems like we always want to throw the person out who created something, but if that's the case, we need to throw them all out. I always tell people, I had a conversation with somebody was like, well, I'm not going to watch anything Bill Cosby made. Okay, so you're going to get rid of everything George Washington has put it touched? They're like, what do you mean? It's a lot of slaves, bud. George had slaves. Y'all going to stop getting $1? You going to stop taking a quarter? What you going to do? You're not, and I think we have to be mindful of trying to cancel everything just because we don't agree with it. What happened to freedom of speech? We want free speech, but then we want to stop somebody else's free speech. I don't have to agree with somebody, right, but I don't have to ruin their lives. Right. That's just me. Because I think this boycott concept has really, people don't understand what boycott really did, back in the 60s, what it was. They didn't boycott for a couple of days. They didn't boycott for a weekend or say, we're not going to buy from them on Tuesday, but then go back and buy from them on Wednesday. It didn't work like that. They stopped using their stuff and built their own infrastructure. They weren't riding the buses. They were driving each other. That's what really happened. That helped our financial infrastructure and hurt theirs. That's why the stuff ended. It's not a temporary movement. It should have been a permanent solution to build up our economy. And this is where we're not thinking about these things. Everything's a boycott. Oh, don't watch this. What does it do to them? If you don't watch it, what's going to happen? You're a small group, but if X amount of million people watch it and around the world people watch it, then what? What's the impact? Or do you create better content? Or, create the content you want to see. That's how I'm always been. Speaking of all that. So we're going to transition. You like that? Speaking of creating content, we're going to talk about creating content.
Talk about creating content.
Yeah. So we've probably talked about this before, is mythology. Right. And it came up in a conversation because I was sent a video where these guys was like, George Lucas stole Star Wars from Komet and da-da-da-da. And they were like, oh, he learned from Joseph Campbell and he took the idea. No, he didn't take the idea from Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell has theories on storytelling and mythology. This is why when you are a filmmaker and you go to film school, you actually have to take mythology class. You actually have to learn about Joseph Campbell's mythologies, especially the hero's journey and the other stuff the other books that he's written and the things he's talked about. You learn about psychology of character development. You learn a lot of stuff goes into it, whether some of it could be a bit racist. When you hear it, you're like, ooh. But learning about mythology, we learned about mythology from various cultures. We didn't just learn about what we were talking about. So in my mythology class, when I studied mythology, learning how to write, we talked about Egypt. We talked about Osiris. So Horus, we broke that down. We had to write a paper on it. So when people are like, oh, they're coming up with this, it's because you're just now being exposed to it. But it wasn't that George Lucas stole anything. It's that he was exposed to studying mythology of various cultures, because in any mythology, there is a universal theme. Even the hero's journey itself, that's why we talk about Joseph Campbell. Even the hero's journey itself, it has a universal theme. Everybody likes the underdog. You know,
Yep.
everybody
Absolutely.
everybody is living a regular life and want to go to an extraordinary life. That's what chasing your dreams is. You know, really, if you wrote a story about yourself being a filmmaker, you're in this ordinary world and you don't want to live the life your parents tell you. You want to make films, and you go embark on a journey to make a film, that you could use the whole hero's journey around that. A kid in
Yep.
school can use the hero's journey around that. It's a cycle, and it's the process. That's what the hero's journey is. And so
Yeah.
we talked about Oedipus. We talked about the father and son situation. The son trying to kill the father, or destined to kill his dad. 50 Cent uses that all through Power. The father and son dynamic, or within the dynamics of a bloodline of people having to kill themselves. So really, most trauma or most destruction implodes within the family culture beyond the outside problems. That's why we're so engulfed in that. That's why if you read Shakespeare, you have Hamlet, you know, has to kill his uncle, gets poisoned, right? You have from the dramas to the tragedy to Taming the Shrew, where you have the woman everybody's trying to get, but she's tough on men. Sounds like Deliver Us from Eva. But there's other movies that's the same way. It's like you have, and this is why I say studying is so important. You know, if you study mythology in itself, you'll see the themes that come from other cultures and other societies, and you're able to incorporate. That's why some stories are universal. Yeah. That's why some movies do well around the world. See,
because it's a common theme.
It's a common theme. They can connect with it. This is why I tell people, if you ever want to make your first film, make a silent film, because it's action, and if you know the story very well, that you're telling it visually, anybody can watch it in any country, anywhere, and get it. You got it. If they can't, then there's something missing. If they can't get the basis of your story to enjoy it, then there's something missing. I've seen stories from other countries that weren't in English, and we were taught to turn the sound off and just watch, you know. But sometimes you got to do that because you want to hear the music too. I like hearing the music for the emotional aspect and everything. But yeah, turn the sound off. We're told on any movie, turn the sound off and watch. If you can't enjoy it, turn it, because movies are visual. Sometimes people do way too much writing, way too much dialogue. It's all dialogue driven. No, like we like to watch. You know, you sit in your house, you look out the window. Let's just be real. Sit in the house, look out your window, see what your neighbor is doing. You might hear some of the conversation, but the action is going to tell you everything you need to know or think you want to know, right? You speculate to be. You know,
you looking like, did you see? Oh, did you see how? And that's that subtext. That's that subtext, people.
Yeah,
that is subtext.
And so, and like I was taught, like sit on a bus and watch people engage in conversation and see body movement. Like it is so hard. Somebody said, asked me, I think, Jaden asked last time, was it hard for us to watch movies with our education?
Right.
And stuff. And it's not, I was like, it's not hard to watch movies because I know what movies are. They're movies. They're stories to be told. It's storytelling. But you know what's really hard to watch? Real life. Because you be watching it and you're like, what? And people are, and the worst part is people are very predictable. It is so interesting. People are very, and I wonder, and I asked this question, I wonder if people are predictable and act and function a certain way because they're imitating the arts. Because think about it, right? People watch all these reality shows and everything. So when she's cussing her man out, yelling at him and slapping him and hitting him, is it her or is it because that's what she's seen on television growing up? Right? Is it him? Is he really trying to be gangster? Or is that what he grew up watching on BET or whatever growing up? You know, Because I remember when I was a kid, they used to say thugs are just people that need hugs too. They just looking to be connected to
Oh,
people. They just looking for a relationship. They regular people. And if you watch, um, people are thrown into an environment, and that environment can shape them or change them, whichever way, because of the type of person they actually are. Right. Like I said, I like watching the YouTube because I like Matt Hoffa, on his interviews. They really get into the industry. They really talk about the business and the relationships and the connections, and they do all this stuff. And it's a really good, poignant conversation about the industry. And you got all these cats. Some of them you've seen, some of them you haven't. You didn't even know they were in the background, and they know what's going on, and that's what it is. It's like I always tell people, even about film industry. Do you want to be famous, or are you going to make money and do what you do? Because there's a difference. There's a lot of famous people who are broke. I'm not worrying about fame. I want to make films. I want to make TV shows, movies, eventually have my own digital platform or television channel, whatever. But I want to create content that's a legacy, that when I'm gone, it's here.
Absolutely.
And that's my desire. There's a DVD. People call me, I saw your DVD. I just popped it in and started watching it. I said, oh, really? Like, yeah. Or my book. Oh, yeah, I was reading your book the other day. I saw it on the shelf. I said, I haven't read this in a minute. Oh, okay. And somebody told me one time they just popped my CD in, because I used to do spoken word and poetry and the music and all that stuff. And so there's power in that, but that's the thing. We studied mythology, and we learned mythology watching television and going to school. But what happens is, and we call this digital or media literacy. We study it where we watch something we can understand, we can comprehend where it's going, what it's talking about. That's why some shows are very, very predictable, because sometimes they tell us everything. And I'm like, oh gosh, please don't do that. I was watching something
Look,
and
I'm like,
everything had to be told. And I was like, really? You could have showed me that. But you're probably going to run into a lot more telling because of the COVID situation and monkeypox. A lot of more stories are going to be telling you some stuff within the dialogue that you couldn't watch because they're like, nah, we didn't have time to film that. It just wasn't in the budget. So we're going to do it this way to explain it. It just varies.
and you can still be creative and do that because, like, you can feel a whole, literally, and I've talked about this before. There was one of the classes I took. They said this tells you this lady's whole life story in one single action. And we're like, okay, like, dang, that's huge. That's big. What is that? And they showed Baby Mama with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. And
Oh, okay.
they showed, so Tina Fey was, if you haven't seen it, Tina Fey is this health freak. And she works for Steve Martin, who's this health guru, and he's opening all these locations or whatever, but she wants to have a baby and she doesn't have time. So somebody talks her into getting a surrogate. So she ends up getting Amy Poehler. So she's feeding Amy all this healthy stuff. But one particular scene, she was like, sit down, I'll make you dinner, this and that. And Amy is sitting at the table. And Tina gives her this drink. She's like, drink this. And she's like, what is it? She's like, just drink it. And she drinks it, and she just spits it out all over the place. And she's like, oh my God, this is awful. What is it? And she's like, water. Oh my God. I was like,
yeah,
brilliant. That told us everything we needed to know about the background. Mostly we needed to know about the background of that character. She didn't even know what water tasted like.
Or good water, right?
One single action. I was like, so there's so many creative ways to tell things, but still the foreshadowing and still leave, some room for the mystery. So you have all of this. You have these secret conversations and you start learning more.
Think about
one
that
of my favorite
real quick. Think about that though. What isn't part of that My Fair Lady? Like you're taking somebody from a different income level and you're teaching them to come up to a certain standard. But
and that's a lot of different
about
movies.
yourself.
Think about it.
Right.
There's
Like
a lot of
Pretty
different
Woman.
movies.
I mean, those are direct ones, but there's some where you're taking somebody who's not to what we call
Pretty
a high
lady.
society level. But what they're really doing is teaching you about yourself because you're at this high society level that you're not really down to earth enough, or you don't understand people. And
Right.
you see how old that is, but how current that can be done. Because it's, what I remember we were talking one time, I said filmmaking is really presence. Like the box is it's not the box, because we know what's in the box. It's how you wrap it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the rapping, like, ooh, because you can give somebody a big box and they go, oh, and you give somebody a little box and they think it's jewelry or something, right? And then you give a different little box and people might think, I know what you got me. And then open it up, it's $1,000. Like, oh, it's whatever.
Yep, that's good. It's the wrapping. And that's why as creators, we have to be creative when we tell these stories, because like you said, it's nothing, there's really no story new under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really us telling it, because it all relates to something or some theme or something, like you said, the hero's journey. All of that stuff relates to something, but it's just how you tell the story.
Yeah.
Like,
period. Go ahead.
No, I just said period. Okay, go ahead.
Speaking of periods, we're going to transition a little bit. We're going to talk about, since we're talking about stories, let's talk about rights?
Let's talk about story rights. Let's talk about story rights. Michael and I were in a conversation about story rights yesterday. And so story rights, when you find a story and you figure, hey, I want to write this story, whether it's a song, I've done that before, wrote a whole movie off of one song.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a song, an article, based on a person's life, an adaptation, a book, anything. When you find a story and you want to tell it from that person's life or article or whatever, there are certain rights you have to get. Now, be mindful of, you can create, because like we said, nothing is new under the sun. Is how you create it. I saw a movie, I forgot the name of it. I was trying to think of the name before we came on. And it was this character who had a twin, and the twin went off to be famous rock and roll star, but they had the characters looking like Elvis. But they told this whole story, and they never said, this is Elvis's story, or this is a knockoff of Elvis's story, but the characters looked exactly like Elvis. And rock and roll, and all of this. So that was interesting. So that you can be creative and base it off somebody's story, but tell your own story. I watched one. It's one out right now, and I said, wait a minute, they trying to make this a Whitney Houston story. I just watched it on Netflix like last week. And it was called. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. And I did not realize the girl's name was. Hold on, guys, I'm gonna pull it up, because it wasn't until I was into the story that they started making it remnants of Whitney Houston supposed story. And that's what happened. Uh-oh.
Yeah, if you look at it, let's just talk about, you had the Temptations in the Five Heartbeats. You had the Temptations, the Dells, you had all these other groups in the movie The Five Heartbeats. So you had this fictitious singing group. And they were really modeled after all these other groups, because their stories were woven within this. And you're still telling a great story. Because till this day, The Five Heartbeats is one of the greatest films ever made. Well, to me. But again, and then later on, what happens? The Temptation movie come out, and you felt like you've seen it before because you see The Five Heartbeats.
Because you've seen The Five Heartbeats.
Yeah. You have all these girl group TV shows. Reminds me of TLC. Reminds me, and TLC even had a movie, where they, and so, but they're alive. So you had to have the rights.
You had to have the rights. And soon as, we're going to
remember what we talked about was there were two Mike Tyson stories, right? There's one coming on Hulu that Mike Tyson is not happy with. And then there's one coming out with Jamie Foxx playing Mike Tyson that Mike Tyson fully supports. And so we were talking about rights when it came to that, because I was wondering, I was like, well, if Mike Tyson has a problem with it, how did that movie get made? Because then we talked about the Aaliyah movie. and they weren't happy with it. But because she's dead, and a lot of stuff is public knowledge, they could make the movie, but they just didn't have the rights to the music, or they got rights to certain people's music.
They didn't have the rights to her music. They didn't have the rights because Aaliyah has so when you have an estate, you have to go to the estate to get the rights when the person has an estate. Now, if somebody just a regular mojo without all that passes away and they have a hella story to tell, and you want to tell that story, you can tell that story. But what it was saying, and I did, research this morning before we got on here, and it was talking about how yes, you can write that story because that person didn't have an estate where the rights are located, and they are long gone. But the problem is when you don't get the blessing of the family, that's when the family comes out in bad mouth. Remember when the Aaliyah movie came out, all her family came out and said we didn't approve of this and da 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 da.
Right.
So again, everybody was talking about how bad it was because you didn't get music, you didn't get the blessings of the family, you didn't do it right. So if they were going to do anything, they should have did a knockoff of Aaliyah's movie, like this other movie. I cannot. How do you pull up your history of what you watched?
For what?
For like on Netflix.
Usually there's a little thing that says what you've already seen before or something like that. Especially depends on how recent.
Continue watching. Let me see.
Yeah, if you haven't finished watching something, it'll do to continue. Hey, what's up, Jamal? We talked about you
Jamal.
earlier.
Yeah, I'm trying. I see. Keep watching. It's not under that. But when I find this movie, it's one word. I forgot the girl's name, but it was a little thin girl with this hair. I kid you not. But they didn't make it. They didn't let you know that it was kind of like a knockoff Whitney Houston story to like 3/4 into the movie. I kid you not.
Okay.
It was like 3/4 into the movie, and it was like, wait a minute.
But you know what? Here's the thing. With the exception of certain things, was Whitney Houston's life any different than somebody else's? When we talk about movies, you could have a movie about a singer who's made it, who's done well. You got Toni Braxton had a story. You got Aretha Franklin's story. You have, it's what they go through, the process of their life, that what sets them apart. Because usually there's some movies that tell a whole life story, right? And then there's some movies that give us there's some movies that give us a glimpse of a time period and a triumph moment that the person went through. Like United States versus Billie Holiday. Great movie. Movie, right?
Absolutely.
And it's a time period, but it's not a time. It's kind of her life, but you see a lot more within it. But you see why Strange Fruit was so important and why the FBI was so against it. That's more powerful of a story to tell. You couldn't just tell that story. That's a story you couldn't just tell with anybody. But I'm sure that Strange Fruit isn't the only song the government didn't want sung or performed.
Right, because the article you sent me about the cartoonist, the FBI put her on the investigation about the black cartoonist. And so,
the first black female cartoonist.
The female cartoonist, yes. Hey, Miss Nat. Hey, Jabari. So the
what's up?
So he said, "Where my Snyder Cut brother in that?"
I don't know. He's been gone for a while. He might pop on in the chat. He could be at work.
I'm mad I can't find it. I'm looking, guys, for that just so I can tell y'all what it is.
She'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. But I think it was called Beauty. No. Anyway, it's one word. But anyway, but there is a public domain. So there is a public domain from, if my calculations are correct, anything from 1926 and past.
Remember, I sent you the list.
Public domain at this moment. So if you looking for a story, they have lists. They have all these lists you can go to. If you're digging and trying to find a story to tell or a story to pattern, you can always go back and look at that public domain from 1926.
You could update, and you can't be sued for it because it was 2 weeks ago. Brian Boyd, who was my DP, he shared DP work with me on I Am and other projects. He's back. He moved back to Maryland, so we're trying to get back together and get our stuff going again, making films and stuff again, right? And Brian, we're talking about what projects to do, and Brian's like, "Hey, what's in public domain?" He sends me the list. I in turn send TK and Jamal the list of public domain, because that's material, whether it's music, film, books, it's material that you can legally use and no one can sue you for it. And so when you think about it, there's great stories that you can improve to modern society. I remember having a conversation with someone years back, and I was like, all you got to do for Christian films is take stories from the Bible and make them modern, have them happen during this time period. That would be the uniqueness, and or in the future, because people do it. It's all changing, and to get rights to stuff, you got to either I talked about this when I went to a book organization, a book guild, writers guild, for novelists about a few weeks ago, and we talked about having the rights to stories because they're authors. They wrote books, and you as filmmakers, you're looking for stories to tell, but you got to get stories that can translate well, from books. The one of the reasons the industry looks at books is it already has a fan base. So they don't have to work as hard for the initial fan base, because you're going to go see a Grisham's film because it's being made. You're going to go see a Clancy's film or TV show because it's being made, because you've read Tom Clancy. Right. My dad reads Tom Clancy all the time. He's, I thought he met him one time. So there's so much, and my dad can tell me all the history because he was breaking down how he got his stories. He was sitting at Annapolis in a bar, and the people were talking when they shouldn't have been. And the Pentagon want to know, how does this man know this stuff?
Yeah. Listen, everybody I tell that's around me, I say, hey, when they get to talking, I say, I'm a writer. I'm a writer because I will take parts of your story. It'll show up from a conversation in 3 years. I'll be in the middle of a scene, and that particular conversation will come. So I listen to men talk. I listen to women talk. I just listen to conversations. If they talking, I'm listening.
Well, and that's why I said, like earlier, we said, get on a bus and watch people. Imagine making a movie. There was a movie called Get on a Bus, but imagine making a movie of a bus ride just a few blocks.
Wow.
Or that has to go not a few blocks, but from one side of town to the other, and the trauma something that occurs on that bus ride. Wow. What would be unique? Like buses can be scary. I remember Jeepers Creepers and some other stuff that people on the bus, and something happens outside the bus, y'all like, don't get off the bus. They can't come in. And they come in. I watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre new movie on Netflix, and he got on that bus and wrecked shop. And you're like, wait, there's strength in numbers. And because we used to think like that when it comes to horror films, like, hey, they only get you when you one or two people, or you by yourself, can't nobody save you. They don't mess with the large groups. Now times have changed. Them guys is going hardcore. Michael's taking out large groups in the neighborhood. The whole neighborhood came out to beat down Michael Myers on Halloween. What happened? He wiped half the neighborhood out.
Lord have mercy, they still didn't make. Oh Lord.
Yeah, so like again, the writing improves when the thinking improves, right? But you're looking at the rights, like what story could I tell? I hear Rosa Parks wasn't the only person to ever give up their seat on the bus.
You said you heard?
I heard.
I heard. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, because it was an article about a lady before her,
right?
That came out.
And so, what if you did that person's story, the untold? I'm not giving it up. Like
the untold. Okay, ain't gonna do it. No, I'm just saying.
but or it is so funny because one time I thought about doing a parody, and this again is rights, because you hear all these people say, well, if I was around during that time, I would have did this, I would have did that. And I'd be like,
Baby,
no, you wouldn't, because you wouldn't have been in your frame of mind that you are today.
That's what people don't understand when people keep saying that. So listen, and then as you write these stories, you have to go back to the frame of mind they were in. Anytime you do a period piece, guys, you cannot write a period piece from the mindset you are, or even as an actor or director, you can't direct characters, you can't act writers, you can't write them. You cannot write from the mindset of today. If you in 1960, you have to write the mindset of 1960 where Black women and Black men were fearful. They were scared. They kept their head down. They did what they were supposed to. They took the,
because you still had the Panthers, you still had other organizations.
yeah. So yes, but your everyday. When I'm talking about everyday people, your everyday regular people, most of them in 1960, you have to think about that mindset and go back to that mindset. Not I would have stood up to my boss and I would have just did this and did that. No.
Yeah, that's why you get some of those stories of the ones who did do it, because it wasn't normal. It wasn't a normal way of life. That's why you get it, Hidden Figures. That's why you get
exactly.
Martin Luther King story, because there are some people who did step out. I remember there was a movie with James Earl Jones where he played the pastor who guided Martin Luther King, and he taught them this philosophy of how to be. And one of the things, he took the guy to the store, and the guy put the money down, and he gave the person the money, but when the cashier gave him the money back, they put it down. They didn't take it from them. You couldn't touch their hands, and he taught him that. He said, "Why would you want to shop here? We need to have our own stuff." And this is a movie that based on this person who headed things up and got us our thought process. But the funny thing is, we don't push. We'd rather tell you what we don't like versus what we do like, because I will tell you that movie is very fascinating. I don't mess with people who don't hand me my money, but today has really changed because we do our credit cards. Nobody got to touch anything.
And then we don't want to touch these days.
Yeah.
What's up, just Thomas? Tap. We don't even insert no more. We just tap. Hey, Thomas. Hey, Darrell.
You got our phones and everything. So times have changed. And so what stories are we telling? What do you want the rights to? Like, it's easy right now. You could go take a Shakespearean story like Taming the Shrew and update it to today's standard and put it out. How many times has somebody...
Romeo and Juliet, we talked about that before. Romeo and Juliet, my hip hop love story. That's Romeo and Juliet.
Somebody wanted to switch bodies.
Don't die.
Remember Vice Versa with Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron? And then you had, and that wasn't the first one, but people have always switched bodies with somebody to get their experience, to know what something's like, or see it from their perspective.
Remember Little? Yep. If y'all haven't seen Little, oh my God, I love Little. That movie cracks me up. I love it. And Little, same thing. She switched bodies, except she didn't switch bodies. She just became the little girl.
Which was going on 13, going on 30 and
big.
Oh,
no, they did.
And
Wait,
big,
did
right?
they? Yeah, 13 going, yep. Same thing.
And so...
But in all those movies were still successful because they were creative and good in their own way.
Mm-hmm. You knew the story.
The concept was the same.
Yeah, you're going to learn something about yourself and the person you switch with, or the people around you, on how you treated people. We have those themes. That's why when English class, we're studying themes, because again, as we talked earlier, there's the mythology in that. Switching bodies with somebody, or being younger, your younger self, to redo life over again. Was it Zac Efron did a movie? Remember when he went back? He was the younger version of the older guy from Friends. And again, he had to learn to appreciate what he did have, and not what he didn't have. And so that's as we look at filmmaking and storytelling, one, there's a lot of stories out there you can take from legally, right? Yes. That's storytelling, right? So we get the rights to it, or we tailor our stuff to it, because that's all they're doing. So because yesterday, it was the day before when Jamal sent me the thing, and he was like, yeah, George Lucas be stealing stuff. That's Star Wars is not original. No one ever said Star Wars was original. The thing is, you had a whole new fan base in the 70s that loved Star Wars. excuse me, and the universe it created. And
Mm-hmm.
you got a whole group of people today who love Harry Potter, which I jokingly tell people, which I'm still being truthful when I say, is nothing but Star Wars, right? It's the hero, is Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. That's what it is. And I joke about, the reason I joke about Harry Potter being Star Wars and Pirates of the Caribbean being Star Wars is they all have the orphan kid who has to at some point go up against dad or somebody real close in their family, right? Dad's on the bad side. That's Pirates of the Caribbean. You had Orlando Bloom's character, who his dad was working with Davy Jones. Davy Jones is like the emperor on Star Wars. He runs the ship, and he has the dad's like his Darth Vader type of guy, or Davy Jones is a little bit of both, really. But and he has to take his dad's place by taking Davy Jones's place in running the ship. So he wants to be with his dad, so he takes over the ship as Davy Jones. So now the ship has to travel the sea taking dead seamen, but he every so many years he gets to see his woman, which is the Princess Leia, kind of. So Luke gets Leia in that case, but Jack Black, which was Johnny Depp's character, is to me Han Solo in a different way. And so with Harry Potter's Luke Skywalker. He lives with his aunt and uncle as an orphan, except this case he has cousins. Luke didn't have that. Then you have Princess Leia, who gets with her Han Solo, which is the redhead kid in Harry Potter, his friend, right? Princess Leia, in this case, isn't related to Harry Potter, but she's still the princess character. You have the big hairy guy. You have the little guy, was it Dobby? So it's like the themes are there, the structure's there. You have the wise old man that guides you through it, or the wise older woman. So that structure is the same. Like we could talk about the hero's journey. That's where writers need to really start to understand. But then let's talk about mythology. Let's talk about, when we talk about storytelling rights, if you study mythology, you'll have a bunch of stories to take from other cultures. That doesn't just, because right now you have this Western American thought process, right? We all do.
Yeah,
we grew up here, right? But if we go learn, this is why so many Korean, so many Russian, so many other African films and European films and all, they do so well because their storytelling style is a little bit different, but they still have that same unique theme. And they do like our movies. We should be liking their movies. We should be enjoying foreign films because it changes the style of storytelling. I can't remember what's the one, Parasite. Remember where the guy goes and joins a family, but you're thinking that the poor family is the parasite, but it's not the poor family. It is so interesting in storytelling. So
that was like, the Parasite. That was definitely that was definitely good.
Yeah,
and like you said, a different type of storytelling.
And so we have to think about that, like as filmmakers. I'm thinking, like, we're talking to you, TK. I'm sitting there like, yeah, we should go sit on the bus. The hard part would be renting
I was thinking that when you said it. I was thinking that because literally, I caught a bus from when I was doing a lot of traveling from city to city in March. I was definitely going from like Dallas to Austin to Houston to like, and I caught a bus. I was like, I'm just gonna catch a $20 bus from Houston to Austin, and mom picked me up, whatever, because I couldn't get a like $50 flight. I was like, I'll just catch the bus for $20. And the guy's like, this bus get interesting. He was like, a lot of people people that died on this bus. I was like, today? And he was like, oh, sorry, I froze. Am I still frozen?
You froze for a second. You good.
Okay. I was like, today? Like, oh my God. So he was just telling me how like sometimes it gets really, really bad. And then he was talking about his job and how his mom had to come and help him clean the bus because he was so tired and people had been calling in and then the bus wasn't clean. So his mom said, don't worry, son, I'll come and help you clean the bus. So taking it from his perspective, so not just his passengers, and trying to make sure people are safe. But then the fact that he got to work, people had called out, and he had to, take care of the bus, and we don't know what he had to deal with that before that. So building, you think about you can look. I just built a story right there
I'm about to
around
say,
the
I'm
bus
sitting there
driver.
listening, right? And I was like, if you take this concept from Barbershop where the son inherits his dad's bus and he wants to hold the bus business and build it, but he really doesn't want to keep driving buses, but his dad drove this bus. His dad drove buses till he could afford to buy his own bus. And he makes this one trip. And then you get all these different unique people that come on this bus and their stories built within it. Heck, it could be a series if you wanted it. It doesn't have to be a movie. I mean, you could start a movie, but it could be a series. Remember the guy on the bus? They made a movie about it where he had a bat or something. He went to protect somebody on a bus. I thought he was the bus driver. And later they had 2 sequels with Danny Glover. And those were based on true stories of true events. But they built this fictitious story off of it. And it started to do something. But it was an independent film that went somewhere. But imagine, it might cost something to rent a bus, but think about it. If you have a bus that you can use and just shoot in that bus, most of the time, you're just going to put up a green screen around it to have the outside and look like the movement and stuff. I mean, you got so much you can do.
And you got to pay for locations anyway, so the bus ain't expensive. When you compare, that you have to pay for locations.
Yeah. You use a warehouse, put the bus in the warehouse, put the green screens around it or blue screens around it, have the lights, have different lighting set up for daytime and nighttime. And it's just one bus trip.
One location. It ain't nobody. 1 or 2 locations. Nobody has to travel. And, you have a room to lock the equipment in. Listen, because you got to, when you change locations, remember you got to pack all that stuff up and, you know what I mean? So you got to think, hey, listen, bus movie. Somebody I already wrote a movie off this show.
We just sat here and talked about a bus.
Off this show. Project Him. That's something Michael mentioned. So that's a movie idea right there, guys.
Yep, that's a good script. That's my Disney film. Like, nah, you could sell that to Disney and make some money though, but I wouldn't sell it. I'd be like, I want royalties.
I don't want to sell it to Disney. I really want a regular production company that's not as big as Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be something that they will gain from as well.
Yeah.
So she said, just told the whole thing. Yeah, but now, girl, this is good. Listen,
look, y'all hang out with us.
Put that good stuff in it. You got to put that good stuff in it. But yeah, but no, I don't think I want to sell Project Him to Disney. I am thinking about selling it possibly, but I could make it and then sell it. But
I actually want you to make it, but you already know who I want in
Project Him. My goodness. That is I love that movie. It's so fun. But we'll see what happens. I'm working on funding. I'm working on stuff, trying to figure out. Somebody told me they wanted to EP all my original films. I was like, okay.
Oh, word?
But
hey.
Yeah, he's like, how many do you have? He said, if you got 15, I want to EP 15. I said, she said, Darrell said, y'all talking about a bus I'm trying to get into space with Mae Jemison or Gillian Bluford. Who is that? I don't know them. You know him, Mike?
Nope. I'm knowing something. See, look, that's why we here. We here to learn from each other. Hey, let us know. What's up, Daryl? What's up, man? Tell us that.
Baby, we don't know everything. We will guide you. We will help you. We will consult with you. We will do what we can and guide you to where you need to be. Because we don't know everything and we don't pretend to.
Exactly.
But we know what we know.
I come from the mindset of if I don't know, I'm gonna go find out.
We'll go find out.
Yeah, because he used to tell you when you get a job. This is my parents. My dad used to say, when you take a job, don't ever say I don't know. Just say, if you say you don't know, just say I don't know right now, but I'll be right back. I'm gonna go find out.
Come on,
and then come back and find out. So, the first black people in space. Okay,
they're trying to send a black woman to the moon. Look, they're trying to send They're sending a black woman to the moon right now. Did y'all know that the first black woman? They're sending her to the moon right now.
Oh, really?
I heard it on the radio the other day.
See? Oh, by the way, because you know what's so crazy? I have not really watched the news for the last few days. And that's not normal of me because I listen to the news first thing in the morning. I watch the news. I listen to the news on the way to work, on the way home from work. Sometimes I play my playlist, but a lot of times I listen to the news. There are great stories and knowledge when you listen to the news. I know sometimes people have to turn it off because so much negativity is coming out of it.
Yeah.
But so much information and things to think about. Like, come on, man. I don't know how many of y'all probably wrote a COVID film yet. And they find a cure to COVID, but it turns people into zombies or mutants or whatever. It's like there's so many different things, or the lasting effects of COVID. Because, it's interesting, people aren't talking about one of the lasting effects of COVID is short-term memory loss. So a little bit of brain damage, right? And how does that impact us 20 years from now? Is that a genetic issue? And then what if it isn't COVID? What if it's something else? We got so much going on. But then I'm not saying make movies to scare people, but that's where the trauma comes out of. I remember when COVID happened, what did people watch? Contagion?
Oh, man. My roommate at the Airbnb was like, oh, you need to watch it. I'm not watching that. Hell, I'm already scared. What am I going to watch that for? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
But people are watching it to scare themselves more.
So, like, you got the first, Darrell, you got a story right there. The first Black people that went to space. What was their life like?
First of all, Darrell, we know stuff, but we don't know every single thing. So don't be putting wow with all those O's. So that's number one.
I don't remember all names all the time. I can tell you that now. I can know something and not remember the names. Because I did meet one of the Black astronauts from Texas because he came to our school. I got a picture with him and everything. And I can tell you his name right now. I think his first name is Melvin. That's why I think it might be because my last name's Melvin. And I think he and I had a conversation about that. And he was from San Antonio. And he went to Sam Houston High School. So it just depends. You learn a lot. I met George Clinton, Parliament, at Sam Houston High School. So when I taught high school and I was teaching film, my students filmed George Clinton talking. And actually, one of my students asked him, how do you know, have you reached when you've done the best work and you've reached your space? Like you're good. You've hit your highest level. And this man said, I never will, not until I'm dead.
Not till I'm dead.
And I thought,
that's
wow,
when your
that's
purpose
so
is served.
Mm-hmm.
Because who says his best work or his pinnacle is in film?
Well, he's a musician, but like,
I mean, George Clinton. George Clinton. I'm sorry. Why did I picture George Clooney when you said George Clinton? But anyway, but who said it's in music? So many times we base our purpose in life. So many times we base it off our craft.
Right.
Let me repeat that. Sometimes we base our purpose in life off our craft. Our craft is maybe just a vehicle to help us complete the destiny or complete the purpose in life that God has for us. It may not be in the craft itself. That's all I got to say about that. So
there you go. All right. So
anyway,
as the recap, we talked about what we watched. We only watched, both of us watched one thing this week. She-Hulk was fun, y'all. It was fun and funny. That's how I enjoyed it. First episode, though. So we talked about mythology, that we should all be studying, I've already studied mythology, but I'll never stop. I mean, as much information from anywhere and everywhere we can get, because it will help us improve our storytelling. We talked about Joseph Campbell, knowing about the hero's journey. We didn't get too detailed in it, but if y'all like us one day to do that, we could. But I think you can really do that for yourself. There's a lot of videos with Joseph Campbell on YouTube, and a lot of the audio books are him speaking on the hero's journey. And it's not just the hero's journey. There's more to it, but they're all available on YouTube. But we also talked about storytelling rights. That's the most important thing, is getting rights to stories, knowing what's out there. Library of Congress. Some colleges have published what's available now, information. And it's not just, listen, we're not just talking about movies. There's movies you can remake too, but there's books, there's music. A lot of creativity can come from that. So we talked about that today. So anything else to add, TK? You want to get to the
Beauty is the name of the movie. I did find it. It is called Beauty. It is on Netflix, and
That's that Drew Hill song.
it was cool. It was a cool movie. But yeah, that's the name of it. It's called Beauty.
There you go.
But yeah, it was just 3/4 into it. Then you was like, wait a minute. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have.
Aren't they trying to? Didn't they do a Whitney Houston biopic, or are they doing one?
Somebody did. Yeah, they did one. Was it
Yeah.
Lifetime? Who did? Someone did.
I thought Lifetime did, but I remember she was in like there. I know in the Bobby Brown story there was the Whitney aspect to his story.
Yeah, Tanya saw it.
Yep.
Yep,
See,
the same
acting
thing,
like
right?
Saw, thought the same thing. See, there y'all go.
Yep. I mean, it was blatant. Like it wasn't like it was. I mean, it was blatant that's what Once it hit, it was like, okay, I see what you're doing.
But there's stories all around us.
But no, this was like you said, some movies you automatically know. Like this one, we automatically know where they went. We automatically knew it. It was like, oh, like it was one of those. They did one and they did one, they're doing another one. Okay. So yeah, and my thing is, make sure when you're okay, my Jim. Make sure when you're writing and telling these stories that you are not trying to imitate someone else. If you have been created to be a creator, you have something in you. You don't have to worry about, yes, the formulas, the formulas and that type of thing. But when you get down to the story, someone told me the other day, they were like, yeah, I like Tyler Perry stuff. So I've written my stuff like Tyler Perry. And I'm like, why didn't you write your stuff like, use kind of like the formula, but why didn't you write the stuff like you write it? You know what I mean? Don't try to imitate anyone else, because you've been created to create. So you have stuff in you. You don't have to copycat someone else's.
Exactly.
What's up? Oh, I watched Wedding Season too, Darrell. Hey, cousin. I did. I lied. So I did watch. I knew it was something else I watched. I did watch Wedding Season. That was cute. I liked Wedding Season. It was a Indian film of Indian descent. Indian with the dot. Indian descent.
Okay.
So yeah, it was an Indian. It was an Indian movie, and so I don't know what is Indian. Is that Nollywood?
That's Bollywood. Yep, Nollywood. No. I'm sorry, Bollywood. That's Bollywood. Nollywood is Nigeria.
It is Bollywood, and
yeah,
it was
Bollywood.
Yes. The filming was good. The sound was good. Like the quality of the movie for an independent film was very, very, very good. It was very good, and the storylines were good. Were clean.
Still, my movie
Wedding
is
Season.
Slumdog Millionaire, man.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, my movie from that is Slumdog Millionaire.
I still have to watch that.
Really?
My daughter went to the Composer a couple of weeks ago. She went to the Hollywood Bowl to see the Composer.
Oh yeah, great music. Their soundtrack, their composition, and the music played very good. Wow, I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
I have the script down here too. I have the script down here. But that reminds me of, what's the movie with the little boy that didn't get the Oscar nomination that should have? Lion.
The one with the tiger in the boat.
No.
Okay,
not the tiger in the boat. I didn't watch that because I couldn't watch the seals the eels and all that stuff jumping the boat, the fish. I couldn't watch that. Would have made me sick. The little boy that should, anybody know what I'm talking about? I think it's Lion. Lion, Lion, with the little boy, and then he becomes the grown man. Oh my God, just thinking of a Bollywood movie.
Yeah, he said his Lion was good. Darrell said Lion was good.
Oh my good, that movie was so good. That little boy should have had an Oscar nomination. But anyway, did I tell you I watched that Korean film where those Koreans went to move to was it Mississippi, and they were trying to create a life, and they lived in the trailer? Oh Lord, I gotta look it up and tell you about it next week.
Look, she don't watch all types of movies.
I didn't watch it this week. I watched it like
we've
months
been gone.
ago.
But remember, we came back. We had to come down with all the stuff we watched while we were gone.
No. This was literally at the top of the year. I watched this.
Okay.
So I probably mentioned it, but anyway. So that's my gem. Just even though you're following a specific formula, still be unique to what you're supposed to write. That's my gem.
My gem for today. Thank you for your gem, TK. By the way, my gem for today is there's a story everywhere. You just got to tell it. And that's the truth. Everybody likes an underdog, right? So sports is great. Underdogs aren't even just sports. With somebody who's hard on life, who's having a hard life, hard on their luck, who wants to make a change. You have a story. Sometimes our own stories our great stories can come from what we really know, our own lives, the journey, and even the fantasy world. Create the universe. Okay. Think about it, real quick, because there was a conversation. If you haven't seen The Breakfast Club with 50 Cent on it, watch it, because at the end he talks about his experience with stars and what he's now doing because he doesn't get the recognition. Because in all honesty, most of us subscribe to stars because of power. There's not a lot on stars that we haven't already seen or that we want to just see when it comes to shows. I wasn't watching P-Valley, so I can't tell you much about it. I only watch stars to watch Power. And I think it wasn't Stars, or maybe it was Stars. I used to watch a show called Survivor's Remorse that was produced by LeBron James, about the basketball player who made it. And so there's certain things we watched and we all enjoyed. And I think Survivor's Remorse was on Stars at one point. Maybe. I got to think about it. It's either HBO. But at the end of the day, you have to decide, the stories you want to tell and the universes you want to create. Because I'm going to tell you, there's nothing new under the sun. Ain't nothing new out there. It's just how you tell it. How you going to package it? It's packaging. It's all it is. It's a train ready to collide, and it's how you wrap the package. How's the story? What happens in the process in the middle, and how does it end? Right. Is it what's unique about it? What stands out about it? We watched an entire 2 movies with Denzel about a train. Think about it. He redid a movie, was it something 17 or whatever, where 117 or 116, whatever, where he's in it with John Travolta. And then we watched another movie that he did about 2 trains, about the collide with my Captain Kirk actor, Chris Pine. And so you think about that for a second. You went and watched a subway movie and a train movie with Denzel. Pan Am. Yeah, the Taking of Pan Am. There we go. Pan Am. So you have to really think about it. Is it anything new? You actually went to the movies to watch what happens with a train. Like, yeah. So like storytelling, you got to think about your stories and just know that there's a lot out there and there's a lot of places to start. The only difference with independent filmmakers, there's 2 differences depending on where you are. Finances will be the thing. So tell the stories you can afford to tell at first, right? You don't need a big audience. Don't think you need millions of people to watch a movie to make millions of dollars. Think about that, right?
Got it.
And it's not about millions of dollars, but just think about it. You don't have to have 1 million people watch your film. You don't have the same standards as a Sony or Disney. They have to have certain numbers because there's a lot of people that got to get paid.
Right,
numbers
absolutely.
are different. An independent filmmaker, my numbers are different because there might be 5, 6 people or 4 people really, really involved. Unless we do certain types of contracts, then yeah, people may have to get percentages and things like that. But that all depends. But you don't have to reach as many people as a Star Wars or Marvel or anything. You don't have that budget. You're not worrying about those problems. But you might be limited in budget, which limits some of the stories you can tell, but it does not limit your creativity.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my gem for today.
Woo, all right. Great show, guys. Thank you for hanging with us.
And we're going to do it like this as we always do. Hey! Hey, thank you for hanging out with us at the Black Filmmakers Lounge. I'm your host, Michael Melvin, my co-host, Tamara T.K. Henderson, and we've been doing what it is that we do. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys for hanging out and following us. Remember, the best way to let people know and to support us is like, subscribe, but share. Here we go. Let me repeat that. Share. Because, post this on your page. Post it in some of your favorite groups. Let people know we out there. We doing what it is we do. We like building you so you can go out, make great films. We'll be there with you as we always do. We'll be beside you all the way. You'll be like, oh yeah, I was thinking if you make a bus film, TK and I need about 20%. If you make a bus film, kick us in 20%. And I want gross. I don't do the net pay.
I want to have the gross receipts, not the net receipts. Yeah. Hello, and I do audits. Hello.
I'll even be nice. You kick us in at 15%, we'll split that. But 20, we were going to split it by 10 and 10. But you got the we got the bus thing. So make sure. But remember this, the Black Filmmakers Lounge is where independent filmmakers, whether novelists or professionals, come together to gain insight, perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry best practices that will advance the Black independent film community. Keep that in mind because make sure y'all networking with each other. I see a lot of people in our community just posting and trying to promote stuff or talk about stuff that ain't doing nothing with film. We don't do that. We film here. So remember this, the Black Filmmakers Lounge, creating our own space to succeed together and be strategic, intentional, and authentic. We out. Like, subscribe, share. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you, Lewis, for that one. We know he'll probably be back on sometime. Jamal will probably come back and hang, and we'll definitely be getting some guests coming soon in September. So let's make what we make, do what we do. We love y'all. Peace.